Hey, I'm Max, and today I'll show you how to make a level system so you can select the level you want to play and it will load a different map with different parameters. In this video I'll show you how to do it in C++, but I actually made another video showing you how to do it in Blueprint if you want to do it in Blueprint instead. But keep in mind that using C++ is always faster than Blueprint, and this is pretty easy I think, so if you want to get into C++, this is a good occasion. First, open your content drawer, go into your C++ classes and create a new class. Select None, Next, and then call it LevelData. Click Create Class. If you don't know much about using C++ in Unreal Engine, I actually made a basics video on that, so you can go check that out. For this, I'm actually going to disable live coding because I'm going to be creating new classes and structs and I don't want to create bugs. So now that my LevelData class is created, I'm simply going to change it into a struct by typing struct, and then above it I'm going to put uStruct, and I'm going to put blueprint type, which will allow me to use it in Blueprint. Then I will change the name from LevelData to FLevelData in all of my documents. Finally, I need to include LevelData.generated.h, and I need to type at the top of the public generated underscore body like this. So basically all you need is a uStruct with blueprint type, generated body, include your generated, and make sure your struct starts with F in both the header and the C++ file. Next we can start putting a bunch of variables in it, whatever you want for your level data. So I'll write U property, then blueprint read write, and edit anywhere so I can edit the defaults in Blueprint. I'll do fname level name, and then I can simply copy and paste it for the map name. And while I'm at it, I might as well add another one for, let's say, the int enemy level, so I can show you how to get more data inside of it. So when you're coding in C++, you will probably often see errors like this, even though when you generate it actually has no errors, and that's just Unreal Engine and Visual Studio. Sometimes there's bugs like this, but as long as when you compile it works, don't worry about it. Next, I will create a new C++ class. I'll go into all classes and search for game instance. I will create a basic game instance and I'll leave the name my game instance. Now in my game instance class, I will add a public section and add a T array, which is basically an array but with Unreal Engine, of my LevelData Struct and call it LevelDatas. Of course, for this I need to include my LevelData Struct and make sure to include above the generated. The generated always has to be last. So I'll simply include LevelData.h. I will also add a int in level to save which level I am currently in. Next, I'll add a void load level with a int ID and a void finish level. No need for ID because we saved the one we're in. Of course, for all of these, we can copy the U property, blueprint rewrite, and edit anywhere, so we have access to it from everywhere. And for the function, we can put U function, blueprint callable, so we can call it from blueprint because we will use the widget in the blueprint to load and finish levels. Now we can implement the load and finish level function, so let's just copy them into our C++. So we just have to copy them into our C++ and then add the little class namespace, I guess, and do our execution. So in here I want to do in level equals to ID, so I can save which level I'm currently in. And then I want to actually open the map that's saved here, the map name. But to open a map we need to include kismet slash gameplay statics.h, and then we can just do u gameplay statics colon open level, and then we can simply put the world, so get world, and then the level name will be level data's ID, so the one we want to open, dot map name, and the rest we can leave it as default. So this will save our level that we're about to open and then open it. For the finish level, we can just do open level and then open, let's say, main menu. But if you want, you can also add in your level data, let's say a bool done, and then in your C++ you can do level data at in level, so the one we're in, dot done equals to true. So we can save which level we have already done. but obviously you will need a SaveGame to save this after restarting the game. Now we can simply compile that and open our Unreal Engine, and we simply have to do the widget using these. If you wanted, at this point you can simply leave it like this and then override your game instance class in Blueprint and fill the level datas in the defaults. However, if you want, you could also override the init function and create them in C++. So if you want to do that, you simply have to go virtual void init and then override, which is the function that gets called on game instances when the game starts. Then you simply have to do void myGameInstance init, and then inside of it you just have to do LevelDatas.add f level data and then use your constructor. So we haven't made one yet, or rather we just have an empty one. So I'll do one, let's say f name int enemy level and bool. Oh, actually we don't need bool because it's never going to be done when we create it. So now I just have to copy this in here like that, and now I can just do level name equals to name, map name equals to map, enemy level equals to enemy level. And in my game instance, when I add a new one, I can simply do test, then the name of the map will be test2, and the enemy level will be 6, for example. But like I said, you don't need to add them in C++, you can add them in your blueprint and it's fine. Okay, so now I'm back in the editor. I can simply right click, go blueprint class, all classes, and then search for my game instance. I can create a child of it, call it blueprint my game instance, for example. And then when I open it, you will see automatically in my variables, there is nothing. Oh, why is that? It's because we need to show inherited variables and then we can see them. Or if we simply go in the defaults, we can see level data has nothing and then in level is 0. Now my level data actually has nothing because I added one in C++, but I did it on init. I guess I could do it in the constructor instead, so then it would load right here. So here I'm just going to add a couple of empty levels, and just to test, I'll put some random names in the first few ones, and I'll make the first level load test and then the second level load test2, so we can test it out, and also enemy levels 4 and 6. Now what you need to do is go into your edit, project settings, search for game instance, and set the game instance class to the one you just created, so BP myGameInstance for me. Then you can create a new user interface, widget blueprint, user widget, and simply call it menu. Then you can open it up. Inside of it, you just need to put a uniform grid panel, drag it in, add it as a variable to the top right. You also need to create another user interface widget, user widget, and you simply have to call it level button. Now for the level button, I won't do anything fancy because it's just a tutorial, but obviously you should make it look better than that. I'll just put a button in a text, set to desired so it's not too big, set my text as a variable so I can change it, click at the top right to go into the graph, remove everything that's not construct, and in my construct I simply need to set the text, so get text and then set text. So this is more UI stuff than level stuff, so I won't get into too much detail. I'll just show real quick what I'm doing so you're not too confused. Now here, to send the data to my level button, I just need to add one of my struct as a variable and pass it as a parameter when I create the level button. So if I add one, I can call it level data. Then I can simply click here and search for level data, and I get the structure level data in my C++. Then I just have to set it to instance editable and expose on spawn. I also need to create another one to know which ID this is, so ID, integer, instance editable, and expose on spawn as well. Now I can simply drag my level data in, break it down, and put all of my variables inside of my text. So I'll just write each variable like this, name, and then I'll put the name. Then map name, and I'll put the map name. So I'll just drag each variable so they are each displayed on my button. Obviously you should make it look better than that. So now my level button is done. I can compile and save, go back in my menu, go in the graph, and this time I simply need to get my game instance. So I'll do get game instance, Then I will cast it to BP myGameInstance I just created, which is the BP that is a child of myGameInstance, which is my C++ class. And the reason why I cast to my child BP of my main C++ class is so if I add any more variables or features in Blueprint, not in the C++ class, I still have access to them. But technically, I think here you could cast to myGameInstance instead of BP myGameInstance and it would be fine. Then in here, I simply have to get my level data and loop for each one of them. So I will loop for each level data in my game instance. For each one, I will create a new widget. The widget class will be my level button we just made. And then since we put those two as expose on spawn, in the variables expose on spawn, that means they spawn here. So we can simply drag in our level data and our ID. Then we can drag in our uniform grid panel. If you can find it here, it's because you didn't set it as a variable. Then we can add child to uniform grid, add the widget we just created, and then for the row and column, we simply have to do divided by, let's say 3 to have 3 per row, into row, and then modulo, so the percent sign, 3 to have the column. So we will have 3 per row. Then in our level button, we can select our button, go at the bottom, on click. Here we can get our game instance. We can cast it to our BP myGameInstance, or just myGameInstance would probably work too. And then we can call our load level with our ID that we have as a parameter. So now all we have to do is add this menu widget to our screen on our main menu, and we should see all our levels. The way I'm going to do this is simply by going at the top left, open level blueprint, and here I simply create my widget menu and then add it to the viewport. By doing this, now if I open the game, I can see all of my levels, 3 per row, because we use the grid with divided and modulo 3. And if I click the first one, it should open the level test. There you go. And if I open the second one, it should open the level test 2. There you go. Now we can also add a way to finish a level. So here I just created a cube, and on component hit of the cube, I simply get the game instance, cast to BP myGameInstance, and I call my finished level, which is the function that we wrote in C++ right here. So now if I load the level and then I hit this cube, it should call finish level, go back to the menu, and also set the level to done true. So you can see at the top left, done true. Now one last thing we can do is get the enemy level on this level. So you can see level 4, level 6. How do we get this once we start the game? Well, for this we can use our game mode. So if we go into our game mode, we can write virtual void begin play override, and then in our C++ we can simply put void begin play like this, and in our begin play we have to super begin play like this, and then we will do the same include as in the game instance. So Kismet gameplay statics, we can simply include this right here, and we also need to include our myGameInstance.h. Then we can create a uMyGameInstance pointer instance equals to cast uMyGameInstance, and then use our gameplay statics. So uGameplay statics get game instance get world, and using this we can get our game instance and cast it to myGameInstance like we did in the widget. And then we can use the G-engine to add on screen debug message, but obviously you don't want to just print the value, you want to actually get it. So you can do whatever you want with the value, I'm just showing you how to get it. And I will use a print to show this more easily. So I will simply do the instance.LevelDatas at the position instance.inLevel. So I will get the level data at the position in level, and then I simply have to get the enemy level. So using this, you can get any sort of data on the current level when the level opens and the begin play of the game mode is triggered. So now if we run this, the game mode should print out the enemy level of the current level. I forgot to say it, but I actually already add this game mode class because I created the project using the C++ template. But if you don't have a game mode, you can simply go in your classes and then create a new class. go into all classes, search for game mode, and create either a game mode or a game mode base. And then you simply have to go in edit, project settings, search for the default game mode, and then put in your game mode. So in my case, it's tutorial game mode. And make sure if you have different maps that when you go into the world settings, which can be seen from window world settings, that you don't have any game mode override, because if you do, then your default game mode will not be loaded. So I set my default game mode and I have no override. So now if I go in my main menu and I open a level, it should print 4 for the first one, and then for the second one, level 6. So I can open any level, I can finish any level. It sets it to true, and it also prints the value of the enemy level of the level we selected. So everything works fine, and since all of our data and all of our functions are in C++, we can call them in C++ easily, and also we can add features. So if you want a special effect to happen when you load a level, finish a level, or if you want to create different things, such as here we could add spawning of enemies, so we get the enemy level and we spawn enemies on that level. And since C++ is a lot faster than Blueprint, doing this in C++ is a lot better. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe.